video, you'll observe a 4th grade learning progression strategy group. For this lesson, Natalie Friday-Mitchell, the literacy coach at Stehlik Elementary, led an inquiry group around one of the major learning progression strands of interpreting characters, inferring about characters and other story elements, a strand that is grounded in Figure 19D. Watch as she leads her students through this inquiry and then sets them up to try this work independently in their own books. Notice the level of student talk over teacher talk.
Okay. All right. I brought you guys together because we're going to be doing some really important work here in 4th grade. And one of those things is making inferences about our characters. And you guys have been doing some really important work as you grow ideas about your characters. You've been thinking about patterns. You've been thinking about the actions that they take. You've been thinking about how they act, thinking about some of the desires, the things that they want. Most importantly, we're also thinking about, are there things that are repeating? Are we noticing details or items that are happening over and over again? We might be thinking about some of the images that come to mind or some of the comparisons that we make. And we're also starting to think about how our characters are complicated. So how they might be one way to others, but another way to somebody else, right? So some of the big work we're doing can be found in what we call the learning progressions. Learning progressions. Thumbs up if you've ever seen this before. Thumbs up. Oh no. So we have new work to do, right? So when we're thinking about the reading that we're doing, we have to think about the level of work that we do when we're thinking and when we're writing, okay? So I want us to take a moment, scoot in nice and close because we're all friends here. And I want us to take a moment, let's look over, what work would we be doing at a level 2? What work would we be doing at a level 3? And what work would we be doing at a level 4? Let's put our eyes on that and read over that for just a moment.
The essay is what does the character, things that are big that it says, what does he say, what does he think?
Right, we're thinking about actions and we're thinking about how the character feels, about their feelings, right? So at a level 2, in our thinking and our writing, we might be thinking about how a character feels based on the actions. Let's think about a level 3. How's it different? Let's take a look here. How is it different?
You're you're making up things like what's he wearing, what does he do in his life?
The character traits.
Ooh, a jump from thinking about feelings
to character
to character traits, right? So when we're at a level 3 of thinking or of writing, we're thinking about character traits. Oh, and then we get to the big work of a level 4. And a level 4 says we're going to think about when a character is complicated. And that's already shown up for us here, right? That's already shown up. So what I'm going to do, you guys are going to work together for a second. And I have some jots for you. And you're going to work together to decide, where do these fall? Is it a level 2? Is the writer or the reader thinking about feelings? Is it a level 3 where the reader is thinking about traits? Or is it a level 4 where maybe the reader is thinking about how the character is complicated? So I'm going to give this to you. Somebody here, go ahead and hop in. Read them out loud. You guys are going to work together.
Rob is tough. He doesn't let the bullies ruin his day.
So work together to decide. Do you think that's a level 2, a level 3, or a level 4?
I think it's a level 3.
I think it's a level 3.
I think it's a level 3 because he's showing that he is really tough. So that's basically a character trait.
I say it's level 2 because it shows how he feels.
That's right.
So why don't we place it here in the middle and we'll come back to it because we have 2 more to read. So we know it could be a level 2. It could be a level 3. Let's read the next one.
Everyone thinks Rob is quiet and easy to pick on, but I know he is tough because of how he handles situations. For example, he doesn't let the bullies upset him. He also deals with Sistine's anger.
It's a level 3 because it's telling a character trait
That he doesn't let other people bother him, and he's brave. So it might be a character trait.
What do you think it might be?
Okay, Rob is sad. Level 2. Level 2.
Ooh. So if this one's a level 2, let's go back to that one. Let's think. Keep thinking.
I think this one is 4 because he's complicated about everybody putting him and about Sistine's anger.
So if we think it needs to move, let's move it.
because it shows how he treats other people.
Like this shows that he is tough and he doesn't let anybody ruin his day.
Okay. So do you see what we've done here? We've taken some time to look at some writing about reading, and we've decided what qualifies as a level 2, what qualifies as a level 3, and what qualifies as a level 4. We notice that at a level 2, we're thinking about feelings. Rob is sad. It's a feeling. That's how he feels in the moment. Then at a level 3, we're thinking about how the character acts and has things happen in the story where we're thinking about the character's traits. Like, how do we know that trait? Rob is tough. How do we know? He doesn't let the bullies ruin his day. And then we get all the way up to a level 4 where we have to think about, like, remember here, characters are complicated, right? We have to think about what's going on with them. Maybe some people think one thing, but we know otherwise. Everyone thinks Rob is quiet and easy to pick on, but I know he's tough. And I know that because of the way he handles certain situations, right? So readers, what we're going to do today, we're going to try some of this work in our own books. So grab the books that you brought with you. And what I love is that we have lots and lots of Post-it notes, right? Or we're starting on some Post-it notes. And if you have Post-its in your book, I want you to go into your book and find your best Post-it about your character, all right? If you don't have a Post-it yet, you're going to find a place in your book where you could be writing about your character, okay? When you find that Post-it about your character, I want you to think to yourself, is this a level 2? Am I just stating my character's feelings? Is this a level 3? Am I stating a character trait and explaining how I know? Or is it a level 4 where I'm thinking about how this character is complicated? All right? What I want you to do now, find that Post-it. I want you to add to it. Think about what we need to add to move to the next level. And I love that you went ahead and got started right away. Let's go ahead, get started. So I noticed your pencil was like in your book right away. So what are we thinking? What Post-it did you find?
Well, my Post-it, what I found is that Jess is opening up to Leslie Burke.
Okay. So what are we thinking we can add to this to tell us about our character's traits or even how they're
Well,
complicated?
after he met her and made a friend, he became more opened up to new people.
Oh, okay. So you're already making some theories here. We're already starting to infer that maybe characters are helping them open up, right?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and start jotting that down. Good job. What are we thinking? Have we found a Post-it note yet?
I think this one is about the main character getting bullied in math class by 2 girls.
Okay, so it sounds like we're restating some of what's happening in the story, right? So I want us to start thinking about your character, how they're responding to this bullying. Can this tell us what type of character they are? I want you to think about that. Read over this part a little bit and maybe start thinking about how you can write about your character's traits, okay? All right. I notice we need to do some jotting, right? That means you need a Post-it note. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you a second. I want you to start thinking about what character could we start jotting about in our book, okay? I'm going to come back to you. All right, Patrick, what are we thinking?
I think that because on my jot I said Opal don't really know her mom, so she asked her dad, how was her mom like? Because she didn't really see her mom, and she left when she was 3.
What's it called when you wonder about something? Like, what's it called? There's a C word we use. Like, when you have lots of questions and you want to know something. What's it called when I have lots of wondering? I'm asking a lot of questions. We call that somebody being curious. Do you think that's maybe a way we could describe our main character? Think about that. Jot that down. All right, what do we, ooh, those shoes. What are we thinking about? What, do we have any Post-its about our characters already written? Okay, what do we think?
I think that because all the other kids are getting shoes, but he is getting shoes from his teacher.
Okay, so we're noticing that like he's getting shoes from his teacher versus the other characters. So can we think about here like what maybe type of person he is? Like what kind of traits are we discovering based on the experiences he's having in the book? Okay, start thinking about that. I'm gonna come back. All right, I'm coming back, friends. All right, What do we think? So what are we moving on to?
So I think now that just Aaron's is, because back then he used to be really shy and not stand up for the bullies that used to bully him a lot. And now he's becoming more open up to new people and starting to stand up to bullies.
Okay, very good. So what's a word we could use for somebody who stands up for what they believe in? What's like a trait that somebody has when maybe, think about that. What's a word we could use, a character trait, to describe somebody who stands up to bullies? I want you to think about that. Where are we? Keep working.
The main character's bullies, they're cruel.
Ooh, I like that word. They're cruel people. Very good.
They are cruel and they make fun of her last name because it's bird and they say like fly away bird.
Oh, they're mean people, right? I like that word cruel. You're starting to describe and use new words for our descriptions of people, right? Like cruel isn't just a feeling, but it's definitely the way somebody can be, right? Very good. So as you keep going, start thinking about paying attention to how those people might be a different way on the inside. A lot of times our bullies really feel another kind of way, okay? Ooh, I like to see that you're writing. What are we thinking?
He's happy because during the blizzard, he found some shelter for him and his dog.
Okay, do you know what I love? You've given me not only a feeling, but you're telling me how you know, right? So I want you to start doing this because you're early on in your jotting. Let's start thinking about how these feelings can lead to a type of person. Maybe we can start thinking about what type of person this is based on the things that are happening in the story, okay? Keep jotting. All right, what are we thinking now? What word did we come up with? We're thinking that maybe Opal is curious, right? So how can we add on to this? What evidence do we have? Show me in your book. We know that she's curious. We know that she's asking questions. So where does that show up in this chapter here?
It shows, right here.
Okay.
Sentence.
Perfect. So let's make sure that when we're doing our jot, we know that Opal's curious, and I know this because, and we're referencing what happens in the story. Okay? All right. And my last friend here, so what are we thinking?
He asked his grandma could he get the shoes that the other kids are getting, but she said he couldn't get them because he needed new boots for the winter.
Okay, so it seems like he's wanting a lot of things, right? So let's think about this. In our writing, are we writing about what feelings he's having about that? Or are we thinking about how these moments can lead us to understanding who he is as a person? Okay. All right, readers, let me get your eyes here. Let me get your eyes here. Just put your pencil right where you are. All right, so the work that we've started doing here today is really big work, okay? As fourth graders, we've started thinking about the different levels of inferences we can make about our characters. We start thinking about like, oh, our characters have feelings and what causes those feelings. Right here, sweetheart. And then we start thinking about, well, what type of things are happening in the story to lead us to understand who that character is as a person? We start thinking about their traits. And then the big level of work that we're going to be doing as fourth graders is then considering how our characters are complicated, how they might act one way, but then on the inside, they're really feeling something else, okay? So when you go off to read your books, I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to think about like what level is my thinking and what level is my writing? Because as we're thinking about feelings, then we're going to start thinking about traits. And then from traits, we're going to be thinking about how those characters are complicated. Sound good? Yep. All right. High five. Off we go. Oop, doop, doop. There you go.